Alright, what's up guys? It's K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video here today, or live stream video. I'm gonna be talking about Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier, the third fight. For those of you that don't know, Conor McGregor fought Dustin Poirier, which ended in a doctor stoppage towards Conor McGregor. In the first round, unfortunately, Conor McGregor injured his ankle or leg per se, which made him discontinue in the fight. So Dustin Poirier came out victorious for some odd reason. So Conor McGregor is currently injured. I guess as far as the build up to the fight itself, him and Dustin were talking smack. And Conor, he made some death threats towards Dustin, saying that he's gonna kill his family and all that. And I was actually a bit surprised that he actually would go that far. I would never think Conor would go that crazy, but I mean, for him to say that towards Dustin is pretty rude. But yeah, Dustin, he had his time to shine against Conor in the fight, and Dustin, obviously dominated Conor in the second fight, but in the first fight, Conor beat the living crap out of Dustin, which is very interesting and very fun to watch. I actually had a lot of fun watching the first fight, but obviously in the second fight, Conor, he wasn't himself. He obviously had a lot of ring rust, I would say. I do believe in that, potential theory itself. Conor, obviously had his fight with, Khabib leading up to that fight. So, him having such a long layoff and not focusing on his training and his skills and abilities obviously shows the level of commitment that Conor puts into the sport. And I just find it so weird because I think Conor, at one point he was hungry, but now it just seems like he's making more money outside the sport. And last time I checked, he said, "F the UFC, I don't need to be here. I'm just doing it just to compete for the love of the sport." And that I give him a lot of credibility for. I definitely give him a lot of respect that he's made a huge living with his whiskey business, and everything that he's making now is turning him into a bigger star for the future. See, now, do I believe that Conor McGregor can beat the top guys? I think so, yes, but I think if he's gonna continue to fall off and not focus on his career and not be disciplined leading up to a fight, then Conor, he's gonna put himself in a bad situation where he ends up getting knocked out. So I think as far as this fight goes with him and Dustin, this fight was pretty good. It was it was good while it lasted. I actually watched the fight as soon as I woke up from my 6-hour nap on Saturday night leading into Sunday, which would be today. And, it was just so weird because I was just like, okay, I usually don't tune in for UFC fights all the time, but whenever I do, I like watching them because they're super funny. And it's always a weird story when you see some of these fighters come out of their way and start either banging it out, or they actually, go to a very logically built chess match. And I give a lot of respect to those type of fighters. Obviously, my only issue is just that the UFC matches usually end up pretty quick, and that's why I find it so weird in certain fights where certain fighters get into really competitive fights, and then it usually ends up in a submission or a TKO victory. Because most fights in the UFC don't really last that long because the fighters are wearing 4-ounce gloves, especially for men. I think they do the same thing for women, so it's it's no different. However you try to slice it, And that's what I like about out of what the UFC and other MMA networks, because the best always fight the best every single day. And I wish you saw that more in the sport of boxing, because if boxing had that same setup where you had competing agencies having competitive fights every single day in a in a league type network where fighters sign to a network, and then it's like PBC in a way where fighters control their careers and they can choose who they want to fight. And basically, if they want to get up to the top, they have to choose from those lists of fighters in order to get up there. And then if you try to duck a fighter, you're going to lose your ranking. I think that makes perfect sense in the world, to regulate the best fighters fighting the best fighters every single day, and then the worst fighters are still at the bottom, or they're kicked off, because it makes all the sense in the world to do something like that. But in regards to this fight with Conor and Dustin, it had a little bit of concern to it. It definitely had like a lot of questions asked about this fight. It was a bit suspect in my honest opinion. Prior to Conor breaking his ankle or his leg per se, I personally thought that fight was a little bit, strange, because Conor, he was doing good. He was hitting Dustin with some mean kicks, to Dustin, and Dustin, he definitely did what he had to do by trying to jab Conor, with like those good 1-2 combinations, which I don't think Dustin is really that good of a boxer. I think Dustin is only good when he gets his punches planted, or like when he's like basically when Dustin sits down on his punches, he's a lot more deadlier to hurt Conor more. But Conor does the same thing to Dustin, so Dustin, he can leave himself wide open to get knocked out if Conor hits him with a mean shot. So I don't see how Conor is less stronger compared to Dustin. But I think what Conor does best is that when he picks off reads and he knows when to hit you at the right time, that's when he makes you look very vulnerable, and then he starts to break you down, and then he eventually either stops you by TKO or by submission. But I think Conor's biggest weaknesses is obviously about the ground game, because what happened in his previous fights, especially the Nate Diaz fight, he lost by submission, and he wasn't able to capitalize off of any submission grapples or grappling counters. So I think what Conor should work on, if he ever plans to return after he heals up, is to make sure that he's working on his grappling ability and not focusing on trying to strike out his opponent more, because Conor got good punching power, but the issue is that he leaves himself wide open for a huge shot, wrestling takedown that allows him to be put at a disadvantage, where a guy like Dustin can easily just outpoint him off of wrestling submissions, and then he could just use that as a means of trying to apply more pressure on the ground. So I think it makes all the sense in the world why those techniques that fighters like Dustin use against Conor would be Conor's greatest weaknesses. And I think if he fixes that up in his next fight, hopefully if he does recover well from this injury, I do think Conor, he can definitely revive back his old talents that he used to have back in his days. So I think Conor, he's a good fighter, but I do give credit to Dustin. Dustin definitely showed a lot of more improvements with his jab, and his ground game is really good. I really like his wrestling ability. He really knows how to put people down. He does not let you get back up, and he uses a lot of pressure when he comes forward. He really doesn't let you get any breathing room. That's what I like about Dustin. He really pressures you, and he uses a lot of technical inside fighting ability. Dustin does not like it when he fights off of his back foot, so if you force Dustin to a back foot fighting stance, especially on a stand-up, Dustin, he can't win off of trades. That's why Conor in the first fight, when Conor did hit Dustin with you know, basically with just straight right jabs all day, Dustin got his ass whooped and Conor easily knocked him out. But you know, the reason why Dustin was not even, you know, making those adjustments was because he got forced off to his back foot. So that's what made Conor, you know, beat the crap out of him. But when Dustin did the same thing to Conor, he can't fight off of his back foot. That's what made Conor lose control, and then eventually he lost. So I think both of these fighters do have a lot of flaws, and it would be nice and interesting to see where things will go in the future. But I don't know. I really do think it will be interesting to see where things will go for those type of situations, to see where either fighter's careers will go. I think at the end of the day, Conor, he is a good fighter. He has great technique. He has great stand up, but his ground game is not that good. But when it comes to Dustin, his stand up is okay, but his ground game isn't. His ground game is very good, and he knows how to break people down. You know, don't get it twisted. It's just that when he comes out of his way to put people down, he's obviously using more of a technical skill set to use his ground game to make things a lot more difficult for him to win a fight easier. And that's what I like out of Dustin. He doesn't give you any breathing room for him to win off of those trades. So I think what Dustin does best is that he makes sure pressure is applied, and he doesn't let anything basically try to slip beyond his control. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Dustin will do in the future, because I mean, as far as I know, he's next in line to be the mandatory for the 135 pound, or for the 156 pound title, which would be that Brazilian guy, which I think he's a pretty good fighter. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is really good, but his stand-up is like not the best in the world. I mean, he can hit, and he can get you in trouble, but I think for this particular situation, it does not seem like that Dustin's going to have problems with that guy. I won't be surprised if Dustin actually beats him and Dustin becomes a world champion, because Dustin, he does have skills, he does have talent, and I think if he ever faces Conor again in a fourth fight, it's probably going to be a title defense, of some sort that will give Dustin, that higher confidence to say, oh, well, I already beat him in the third fight, blah, blah, blah. But Conor is going to say, no, you didn't beat me. You had a unfair advantage over me because I got injured, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to build up for for a fourth fight. Honestly, I could see Dustin and Conor like fighting each other like 10 plus times, but who knows? I think it'll be interesting to see where things will go for their careers, and I want to see it happen because it's a good theme to see what these fighters will do in the future. So I think that'll be good to see the evolution of how this fight will be built up, because Conor McGregor, if he does pull off another Anderson Silva, where he does come back healthier, stronger, more fit and lean, he could come back, get a tune-up, and then boom, he could go straight after Dustin, and then maybe go for like another world title, because obviously, he's already like accomplished what he's done. He's a 2-division undisputed world champion. The only problem with him is just that he's just never defended his titles, which is a big issue. But either way, Conor is still a all-time great. He's done what he had to do for the UFC, so I think the UFC knows that he's, their ultimate cash cow. Regardless if he wins or loses, because he's obviously on the freight train of being good. But I mean, Conor, if his peak is over and he's coming down to the end of his career, then by all means, he probably needs to hang it up. But I think Conor, he still has a lot in his tank, and his motor's not gone. He just needs to work on a few things, and then he'll be back on track. But if it's over for him, then maybe, he needs to hang it up. But I can't say what a fighter should do. That should be up to the fighter to determine if their career is finished or not. But we've seen it from many other fighters. We've seen it from Chris Weidman to Michael Bisping to George St. Pierre to Matt Hughes to all these good household names that made the sport of MMA a good sport. And what I like about MMA is that even if you lose, people don't crucify you for losing. You just come back up, back up into the rankings, and then boom, you're just back on track. And I don't see how Conor really loses his fan support, because it seems like he still has a shitload of fans and people will still hate on him regardless if he wins his next couple fights, because that's what publicity goes for the sport of MMA, at least. But in the sport of MMA, it's not about who loses their O and who starts to lose their careers, because it's not about that. It's all about competition. It's all about trying to be the best at what you can do, and people give each other respect even if they don't like that fighter. So I think Conor's career is still valiant, but Dustin's career looks like he's going to be on his way to becoming a world titleist pretty soon. But who knows? I think anything could happen, and Dana White, he can make some really good fights happen in the UFC. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the future is definitely Dustin getting that world title strap. I don't even know if he even wins that fight, but if he does, congrats. I'd like to see, him fight Conor McGregor for a fourth fight. I personally believe that this third fight should have been a no contest, because according to the UFC rules, if you are injured in the event of, basically in the event of an unexpected accident that was beyond a fighter's control, you are technically granted a no contest for both fighters, because you did not hit the fighter, you didn't actually perform any physical action to force a fighter to get hurt or dominated in the event of winning the fight. So if you guys had saw the two missed punches that were thrown at the same time by Conor and Dustin, Conor obviously I guess rolled his ankle, but I guess he cracked it or broke it. So Dustin didn't even hit him, but after that Dustin kind of went after him because his leg was all fucked up, so he couldn't do shit. So Dustin just took advantage of him and then went after it, but Dustin didn't even hit Conor. So that by itself should be ruled as a no contest, because Conor had no control. No control for it. And I mean, if Dustin were to kick him and then Conor's leg did break, then yeah, good for you. You won the fight, because Conor, he got injured. So that is a TKO victory, which I can agree if a doctor stops that, because that's like similar in the sport of boxing. If, let's just say, if I punch a guy right to his chin and come to find out I break his jaw in the process, then yeah, he can no longer continue, but I knocked him out, so I won by TKO stoppage. So as much as I kind of feel bad for breaking someone's jaw, or let's just say chin, or like whatever, I'm still victorious in the event of knocking that person out, because I landed physical contact on that individual. But if I did not land physical contact and the fighter himself or herself got injured in the event of that fight, then I can't say that I won the fight. And I think Dustin knows that. He knows that he did not win this fight fair and square, because it was obviously an accident. See, now I don't really care either way, because I have no dog in the race. I am a Conor McGregor fan, and I like Dustin Poirier, but I don't think Dustin really won this fight fair and square, and I think he knows that, and I think there just needs to be one more final fight, and then everything can be like, settled, once and for all. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that there should be a fourth fight? I personally think there should be, but I think Conor McGregor, he's on his way for a bigger payday somewhere down the line. I mean, he obviously, he obviously doesn't need to fight again in the UFC. I mean, for all that matters, he can just go to the he can just go to the sport of boxing and fight Manny Pacquiao or Jake Paul or something. But I mean, Conor has plenty of options, so it's not like Conor is out of the woods. He can easily fight till the very end of his career, in the UFC if he wants to. But it'll be interesting to see where Conor's career will go, and I'll be looking forward to it, because I don't hate Conor McGregor. I obviously don't respect his evil antics that he tried threatening against Dustin Poirier, saying that he's gonna kill him, and then he if he sees him outside, he's gonna beat the living shit out of him, which I just don't think that's a manly thing to do. That seems very childish. But hopefully we can not see that happen. I mean, if Conor does do that, he would be a savage, but I don't think that should really be happening. If I'm Conor McGregor, I should just kind of retract what I say and not go that far. But I don't think he's gonna do that. I mean, if he does, I'll be shocked, because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's like some female athlete saying that she's gonna beat the shit out of this woman, even though that she lost to her, blah blah blah, and it doesn't make any sense. That's almost like Clarissa Shields saying that she'll beat up Amanda Nunes if she doesn't choose not to fight her or something, in the streets. I don't know, but I think Conor knows that he shouldn't be ruining his character and imagery like that. But I think Conor knows that he needs to fix up his character and not go that far. But I mean, if he really is gonna go that far, then I personally believe there should be some legal justice behind that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. I really don't have anything else left. I actually enjoyed the fight as long as it lasted. So yeah, let me know what y'all think. I think there should be a fourth fight to this. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm gonna probably talk about Teofimo Lopez maybe tomorrow or today, depending on how I feel today. But that's pretty much what I gotta say. I'll see y'all later, and have a good day. Bye. Sorry, I gotta step off. Alright, thank you. Bye.